All right, let's journey together to a place that sits right on the razor's edge between myth and history, the legendary city of Dwarka. It's an incredible story of divine power, unimaginable wealth, and a mystery that was hidden for centuries beneath the waves, just waiting. So, picture this. A city so stunning, so absolutely magnificent that the gods themselves were envious. And then, one day, it's just gone, swallowed by the sea. It literally vanished from the map, fading into the world of folklore. But what if it wasn't just a story? That's the question we're diving into today. I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was Dwarka a real physical place you could walk through? Or is it simply one of the most powerful and long-lasting myths ever told? Well, to figure that out, we've got to start with the legend itself. So, our search begins, maybe surprisingly, not in the ocean, but in the pages of ancient Hindu scriptures. This is where the story has been preserved for thousands of years, and it's the foundation for this whole incredible mystery. According to the epic Mahabharata, Dwarka was founded by Lord Krishna himself, and it wasn't just a capital city. It was a sanctuary. It was a fortress built specifically to keep his people safe from constant attacks. So you see, it was a kingdom born from necessity, but it was designed for pure glory. In the descriptions in these texts, wow, they're just staggering. Dwarka wasn't built by just any old architect. It was the masterpiece of Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods. The legend paints this picture of a literal paradise on earth, a place so holy it became one of the 7 sacred cities in Hinduism. And then, get this, the number of palaces said to be in the city, 70,000. We're talking palaces made of gold, silver, and all kinds of precious stones. It's a number that suggests a level of wealth that's almost impossible to even imagine. But, as the legend goes, it was all about to come to a very sudden, very dramatic end. For centuries, that incredible story was all anyone had. You know, a beautiful myth. But then, in the 20th century, modern science and archaeology decided to take the legend from the ancient pages and dive right into the ocean. For most of modern history, let's be honest, the story of Dwarka was pretty much dismissed as just that, a story, a cool piece of folklore. But in 1983, the whole timeline just takes this wild turn. A team of marine archaeologists, led by the incredible Dr. S.R. Rao, decided it was time to stop guessing and actually go look for it. And what happened next is just unbelievable. Right off the coast of the modern city of Dwarka, exactly where the legend said it should be, they found something. Deep beneath the waves, there they were, the unmistakable signs of man-made structures. So the big question is, what did they actually find down there, 40 feet below the surface? What kind of clues did the ocean decide to finally give up? And listen, they didn't just find a few random rocks. The divers found huge, well-defined structures. We're talking about massive stone blocks arranged in a clear pattern, things that looked just like city walls, and even what seemed to be the remains of a port or a jetty. This was no natural formation. This looked like a planned city. Okay, and this is where the connection gets seriously compelling. The ancient texts, they describe a heavily fortified city with a major international port. And what did the archaeologists find? Submerged walls and, this is the kicker, ancient stone anchors, the same type used by other major seafaring civilizations like the Phoenicians and Egyptians. This wasn't some isolated town. This was a hub for trade, just like the legends claimed. Then there's the age, which is just mind-blowing. Using carbon dating on some of the artifacts, they came back with a date of 9,000 years old. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That would make this settlement older than the Great Pyramids, older than the famous Harappan civilization. It could potentially rewrite the history books for the entire region. So let's just pause and recap. We have an ancient legend of a glorious city that was swallowed by the sea. And now we have the physical ruins of an ancient city, right in that exact same spot. The evidence is there. But how do we connect the dots? And that brings us to the biggest question of all. How did it sink? Was it a divine act, just like the legend says? Or was there another, more scientific explanation for this city's watery grave? This leaves us with 2 fascinating parallel explanations. On one hand, the legend says it was a prophecy fulfilled. On the other, science points to a massive, rapid rise in sea levels when the last ice age ended. Or maybe some huge tectonic event, like the Earth's crust suddenly shifting. But here's a thought. Are these two stories really competing? Or are they just two different ways, one of myth, one of geology, of describing the exact same catastrophic event? Now, it is really important to say that this debate is far from settled. Skeptics, and rightly so, point out that while these ruins are undeniably ancient and incredibly important, to say they are definitively the Dwarka of Lord Krishna from the Mahabharata, well, that's a leap that requires more hard evidence. And maybe that's what makes this whole story so powerful. Dwarka isn't just a pile of ancient stones at the bottom of the ocean. It's this unique place where a foundational story of faith literally intersects with the tangible, hard evidence of science. It's where a timeless myth comes face to face with the ocean floor. The story of Dwarka really forces us all to ask that question. Where does myth end, and where does history truly begin? But maybe, down there in the deep, where ancient memory meets the ocean floor, we find out that they aren't two separate stories at all, but just two different ways of telling the same incredible truth.